Hi, I'm Marcus Vanzant, broker, owner, and team leader of Marcus & Company Realty. In today's video, we're going to tell you how to win multiple bid situations. All right, let's get to the topic at hand. In talking and recruiting and trying to select agents for our company, one of the number one complaints that we hear from a lot of new agents is we're not really being trained how to win multiple offer negotiations. And the reality is there's some things that I can kind of relate to you that I think will help you win every negotiation possible that you get enough information for. So let's relate this to the story of the ham. And what does ham have to do with this winning a negotiation? Well, many of you have probably heard the story of the woman who was cooking the ham, and the child came up and said, "Mom, why do you cut the end of your ham off when you're cooking your ham?" And the mother's reply, "Well, it was because my mother did." "Well, that's strange. Why did she do it?" "I don't know. Let's call her." "Hey, Grandma, why do you cut the end off your ham?" "Well, it's something my mother always did, so that's why I do it." "Well, why did she do it?" "Well, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask her." "Hey, Great Grandma, why did you cut the end off your ham?" "Well, because my pan was too small." Now, you've all heard that story, I'm sure. But if not, the story is basically because they did it because that's what they heard they were supposed to do. They didn't really know why. And I think that happens a lot in real estate. An example I have here that I'm going to pull up is just to bring this home is in our MLS. When you look under the Cobra, you'll see a lot of times, and I have this highlighted here in this photo for you, that they offer 3% for single, or 0 or 1% for no relationship co-brokes, and then another 3% for transaction. Now, my question is for you, and I have asked many people, why do you do the 0 or the 1? And the answer is, well, I don't know. That's what everybody else does. Kind of the story of the ham. Well, I can tell you from my standpoint, and the reality is I'm representing my listing. I'm representing my seller. Do I really care how you represent your client if it's going to get my seller to sell their home? No, not really. So do I care how I pay you or why I pay you as long as you bring somebody to the table that actually buys my client's property? No, I don't care. Now, go to your broker. I can't tell you that you're going to have that opportunity or whatever, but the reality is ask, and most people don't know. There may be a valuable reason. That's great, but I don't really care. So this brings us back to how to win a multiple bid situation. Now, if you haven't read the ethics, I have. Now, I know you've taken the ethics class and understood that and all that kind of thing. But the reality is there's some information in there that I think is very prevalent to how to win a negotiation. If you've made an offer on a multiple offer property, you've probably heard, "Give me your highest and best." It's one of the things I can't stand. The reality is they've got you negotiating against yourself, not against everybody else. And if you ask the question, well, what are the other offers? The typical response is, I can't tell you that. That's just not true. That's the ham. They've heard it before. They adopted that information. I'm going to bring up Ethics and Standards Practice 1-13. Okay? And I want you to take a look at this photo, and I'm going to have to read a little bit here. It says, when entering into a buyer-tenant agreements. Okay, so what's important is the buyer agreements, and that's the first line highlighted there. If you drop down to number 5, the possibility that the seller or seller's representatives may not treat existing terms or conditions or offers as confidential. Right there, it tells you that the seller and or their agent is not going to hold your offer quiet. They're allowed to tell other people. How are they allowed to tell it? Well, let's drop down to Standard Practices 1-15. It says what I have highlighted. Shall, with the seller's approval, disclose the existence. But the disclose is the important part. Now, if I'm not going to hold your offer confidential and I might disclose it, doesn't that mean I can tell other people with my seller's approval? Doesn't that mean I can tell other people what your offer is? Yes, and that's how I represent it. Now, again, you're going to have to go back to your broker if you're with another company. But this is the way I treat it because I run as a single agent, not as a transaction broker. I can negotiate to the betterment and detriment of any party. But the reality is, why would I negotiate against myself when I can negotiate against the other party? From a seller standpoint, why wouldn't I want to tell you what the highest bid is so I can get you above it, not just above yours? So let's give an example. I had an example in which we had an offer and they offered $205,000 on a property. The reality is what I found out was we had 6 offers on the day one of this property. I found out this particular buyer from this agent and from a lot of the other people that tell me that the buyer with this agent was actually in tears, if you can believe it or not, about this house because they missed out on so many opportunities. Well, there's no fairness in real estate. I'm fighting for my client. I now realize that that buyer wants this house more than probably my seller wants to sell the house. Those tiers and those multiple offers, as I went back and negotiated back and forth, cost another $10,000. Now, had I had said, and that buyer ended up buying for $215,000. Had I said, hey, listen, give me your highest and best, they may have gone to $207,000. I mean, the reality is, go let them know. So if you're on a buyer side of this and you want to know how to win the multiple offer situation, ask the other agent what the highest offer is. Your client may or may not be able to beat it, but at least you know. And when they tell you, you know, I can't tell you that, well, now you're armed with information to fight that process. You may not win that argument, but you should. It's the truth. So anyways, good luck out there negotiating. Hopefully, if you're negotiating with me at some point and you don't join our team, well, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to get you to beat the offer that's up there. And if not, then hey, listen, you got all the information and you gave it your best shot. So anyways, good luck out there. I hope you sell some houses. And if you have any questions, give us a call, 941-932-8550, or shoot me an email, marcus@soldbymarcus.com. Have a great week.